welcome to This Racing Live. We're here in pretty soggy Ditcheat, and I'm going to show you around Manor Farm stables, not only reflect on some of our old legends, but also show you some of the current ones and some really exciting horses who will be running over the festive period. Thought we'd take a little trip back down memory lane and sort of remind ourselves of some of the legends from over the years. I mean, I thought it was only fair to have a quick flick through and see some of these gorgeous photo books that that we've got and sort of reminisce on some of those amazing days and amazing winners and records and all sorts.
I've been very lucky, you know, it's great to have loads of photographs, but if you had all those horses, you'd have the whole house covered in photographs. And so what I decided to do was do each horse that I had a book with all the pictures I'd got them over the years and a writer. So each of those wonderful horses, I've got a great memory in a book. And if you just look, for example, you know, this is probably the thickest one of all, called Toe Star. It's just all the memories we had from him.
We'll go back to the front a minute. I don't think we've got any greys there.
No grey hair. So that was a long time ago. You know, I've just, you know, through here you can just see some of the most amazing pictures we've had in from the very beginning when he won his first races, all the way.
Fitz there.
Yeah, all the way through to the end. I think there's even one of you in here with him somewhere. But it's just, you know, the memories are there that you can anytime. You want to go and have a long look at him out there playing in the field with Denman. And look at those, you can just see all those.
He's yawning.
And the Grade 1 plaques outside his door that is now...
That ran out of room, didn't it?
Ran out of room, yeah.
It's on the wall on the side of his...
You know, amazing horse. If you think any horse to win all the races he did...
oh, there we go.
There we are. And what a good-tempered horse he was, you know. You'd have never allowed them to do that with Denman because he'd probably just... took a chunk out of him. Amazingly tempered horse from the day he arrived here. But it wasn't an easy journey. The first season or two we had he won his first race in Newbury and then he had a fall at Exeter, missed some time, then he managed to fall in the Champion Chase. Just about everything in the race galloped all over him. But you think that the breakthrough season was when he won a Old Rome Chase. Then we decided to step him up in trip and he won the Betfair Chase. And I remember ringing Ruby saying on the Monday, I think the entries are in for the Tingle Creek Saturday, don't look too many in it, should I enter him? And he said, no, you can't do that. He said, I've just spent all my time getting him to settle, we've just gone 3 miles, can't go back to 2. Oh, okay, won't do that. 2 minutes later, effort, he said, we might all be dead in 2 years, so let's run him. So we entered him and he ran and he won, and then he went and won the King George. Came back, won the Denman Chase, as it is now, with the Aon in those days, and won the Gold Cup. What amazing breakthrough season that was. And to think in the end he won 4 Betfair Chases, 2 Tingle Creeks, and 5 King Georges, and 2 Cheltenham Gold Cups. What an amazing horse. Only horse to win, lose, and gain the Gold Cup.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that book, you know, of Corto is, you know, a treasure forever. Fantastic horse.
Did you have it's hard, they're all incredible. Did you have a favourite one of all those big wins?
You know, any Gold Cup is special. Winning those 2 Gold Cups were absolutely amazing. But I got to say that when he won the 5th King George, was the most amazing day. You know, he'd come back from injury, a little bit of an injury, but had the season before, a bit underwhelmed. He fell in the Gold Cup and got beaten in King George, and we went for the Betfair Chase, you know, and he was 11 years old then, and my neck was on the block, I felt, really, because people had called for him to be retired after he'd pulled up, I think, at Punchestown. And we changed our tactics training, and we went to the Betfair Chase, and he won and beat Long Run, who was a reigning champion, and then to win a 5th King George for him was just like one of them. I remember the crowd and the people there that day, and the horse was just one of those days you'll never ever forget. Amazing reception. And the sad thing was I actually think he'd have won the Gold Cup that year as well when he was 12, if he hadn't had that fall in the school for 3 weeks before.
We've got the pictures of them in here somewhere.
Unbelievable fall. And I remember his owner, Clive Smith, had come down to see him school the week, 3 weeks before Cheltenham. Ruby was here, and he was only just cantering around the school. But he's always a bit of a boy and wasn't concentrating.
Here we go.
Wasn't concentrating yet. Look at
that.
Amazing.
I mean, he didn't pick his feet up. He's in the ditch here.
I mean, it was a horrific fall, and sadly, he never really got over that. And we ran him in the Gold Cup, but he ran fairly ordinary. And that was his last ever run. And if we hadn't have fell in that school that morning, he was in the form of his life. He'd have probably gone and run very, very well in that Gold Cup. But I think that year he may well have got one even at 12 years old. But that just shows you, you've got to school them. You always take chances when you school them. And he was a brilliant. But that fall that day thank God Clive was here to see it. He probably wouldn't have believed us what happened. You
No.
know, it was a very bad fall.
I mean, you see this gorgeous picture, amazing, foot perfect, and all of 10 seconds later, it just shows it can happen. And
yeah, it does, and it was just a sad end. And he never ran again, obviously, after that Gold Cup. But what an amazing horse! As I've always said, horse of a lifetime.
The feeling around it, and I know it's easy to say, but he really was like the people's horse, and I suppose it brought such a different atmosphere to the racecourse than it has what I've experienced any other horse.
In him parading there with Clifford. Clifford actually rode him a lot, loved him. I mean, it's a shame, really. He didn't live a lot longer than he did, and in some ways we all felt it was sad that he never stayed here with Clifford to ride him out, you know, as a hack, really, because he might have been a bit fresh hat, but I don't think Clifford rode much after Courtois retired. And, you know, having ridden him every day, look at him parading, you know, those great parades around through the village when he won. You look at that with this. But it wasn't just him at the time. There was Big Bucks and Masterminded and Neptune Galonge and Denman. Amazing lot of horses. Look at that one. Look at Dan Scout and his training now. Dan will never forget those days.
Incredible.
Amazing
I don't
horse.
think we'll ever
Look at that
come across
schooling.
another one like him.
No.
And remember, one thing
Well,
you
we'll
always
keep
used to
trying.
say about him in particular was, I mean, he was a top class 2 miler and he was a top class 3 miler, and you always said that those elite horses always have a bit of both.
Yeah, they need to be a real champion. They have to have a bit of both. I mean, he didn't truly stay, to be honest with you. He was more a speed horse, but he just had enough ability to win 2 Gold Cups.
Yeah.
Kempton 3 miles was about perfect for him.
I suppose the next one we've got to look at is the tank in Denman himself. I mean, not only was Courtois a phenomenal horse, but same era, against each other in those Gold Cups, and he was a pretty amazing horse in his own right, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, obviously he was next door neighbour of Courtois. You know, they lived everywhere together, and this is an amazing book as well. You know, Charter and Denman's life from the day we bought him in Ireland. Paul Barber and I have been to a point, and someone, one of Paul's friends said, "Why don't you go and look at this nice young horse, an hour or so down the road? If you want a point on the weekend, you might quite like it." So we went along and saw him. They pulled him out of the stable. I said, "Paul, I'm having him." He said, "No, you're not. I'm having him." And it's true. So we just been in the right place at the right time, bought him. Never showed much at home before his first run at Wincanton, and I think he won half a length, something like that. Trying to go into the racecourse stables on the way around, and then he went back there about 3 weeks later. Did the same thing, tried to run off the course, but 125 lengths or something like that. And Christian got off and said, "The best horse I've ever sat on." And obviously he was a machine, and then he ended up winning the Challow Hurdle that year. Just got beat at Cheltenham. Then he went chasing and never looked back. And you know, he won a Gold Cup, 2 Hennessy Gold Cups, RSA chase, fantastic horse. And
Completely different type to Courtois, wasn't he?
yeah, he was a real slow out and out staying horse. Tough as gallop and big horse, carry lots of weight. You know, just, as I said, he won Hennessy, 2 Hennessy with 11 stone 12. And the second time he won the Hennessy, he came back and having that famous heart problem after he'd won the Gold Cup. So he wasn't easy to train. He had a few little issues, but very, very good horse. And obviously he was nicknamed the Tank. But, you know, the day he won the Gold Cup was an amazing day. He beat Courtois and Neptune there, first, second and third. And come back, and he ran some super races, and you know, he went out to Ireland, he won a Lexus as well. Just
Got the Lexus there, actually.
Your dreams are, but just for Mr. Barber to win the Gold Cup with him was amazing. All those rivalries with his mate next door, Courtois, incredible times, and again, very, very smart horse.
Well, I mean, how gorgeous! I mean, these two absolute champions. I mean, to have them in the same stable, never mind at the same time, it's just...
And next to each other, I know. We're incredibly lucky to have those horses. It was just, you know, things go in cycles, really. And we were very lucky at the time. We had the best team of players to compete, and it was brilliant. You can see all those amazing days we had parades in the village when the horses won.
I remember thousands of people used to come. It used to be absolutely packed, didn't it?
Superb.
Come down to see them after
Need to win another Gold Cup now.
Yeah, find our next one. Well, actually, on that note, trying to find your next Gold Cup horse, I mean, look, it's hard to say at this stage, but you've sort of mentioned them in the same phrase, more in the respect of they've taken the same route. But Brave Man's Game is someone that you've not maybe compared to Denman, but you feel that he could go the same direction?
Well, just because last year he won at Newbury, won the Cello, and I sort of said he'd gone down the same route as Denman. I've been then quoted as comparing him with Denman. To be fair, he's done incredibly well. He won a Cello, was good over hurdles. His 2 novice chase wins have been fantastic. Well, they weren't novice chases. He ran in graduation chases, which against the older horses have been fantastic. And I'd say at the same stage of his career, he's got exactly the same rating, if not a few pounds higher than what Denman had at that time. Obviously, Denman went on and won the RSA and then went on and won in the Gold Cup and all those races. Let's hope Brave Man's game does the same. He's a high-class, big, strong chaser. Just might have a bit more speed than Denman. He might be more a King George horse next year than possibly Denman was not a King George horse. And Denman always liked going left-handed. But yeah, I mean, at the same stage of the career, they're identical horses, and I'd love to think that Brave Man's game could be as good as Denman, because there's not many that are.
No, well, that's exciting to even be able to think that there's a possibility is exciting enough in itself. And well, I can only keep my fingers crossed for you and everyone that he is just as good, because
fingers crossed.
He was pretty incredible. We just started to flick through the Neptune Collonges Grand National picture book, and a race that everyone obviously wants to win, but I don't think anyone's been quite as nervous as you were when the photo was about to be called. I mean, it was ridiculously close.
I know. Again, what an amazing horse he was. The last run of his life, 11 years old, going into the national. And we did really fancy him really strongly. Yeah, he was a lovely horse. He'd won some good races for us. He'd won 2 or 3 races in Ireland and run well in Gold Cups. And fantastic horse, but a real stare. And funny story, as I remember, it was going to be a bit of an effort to persuade the Haleses to let me run him in the national, because John was keen and Lisa and Pat, his wife and daughter, weren't keen. So we got invited to go on holiday to Barbados all those years ago. It was probably 2012. And I thought, well, if I spend a week on holiday with them, by the end of it, I'll have persuaded them to run the horse in the national. So after having a lot of banter every night over a few drinks, it was agreed that we could run Neptune in the national as long as he ran very well in the national trial at Haydock.
Yeah.
And win, lose or draw, whatever happened, that was going to be his last run. So he had to run well at Haydock. So Haydock comes along, and Harry Derham rode him. Actually, took 5 off him. He carried top weight in the Grand National Trial race, and got beat head or neck, or ran very, very, very well. And I was at Ascot the first thing I ran John up. I said he'll win the national, tongue in cheek. And of course we were able to run him in the national, but Lisa Hales never went to the national because she was dead against it. And she didn't want the horse to get hurt, and Pat was not the best pleased, but she came, and the rest is history. He jumped around brilliantly, and I should never remember talking to Ruby the week before, and Ruby obviously had a choice of horses to ride, and I said, I need to know what you're thinking, because I've got to get someone else, or Daryl's going to need to come and have a sit on Neptune. And I remember Ruby saying, "Oh, let someone else ride him. I've got another one to ride." He said, I'm sure he said to me, I think he's too old and he's too slow and he's got too much weight. And he probably did have plenty of weight. He was probably old and slow, but I always remember saying to Daryl, make every post a winning post. He will keep galloping. It's not even far enough for him. In fact, the national now is shorter than was the year he won. He probably wouldn't have won it. So he was flat out all the way, and even going to the second last, he was flat. And I thought he can still get there because he'll stay on strong. And he went by that winner post. And my first reaction was that he had won. And then when the camera was panned on to John Joe, I thought, perhaps John Joe's winner. I'm not quite so sure. But Nipper had one ear up as he went by the line, almost like he knew it. And we were waiting for the photograph. And Ruby, who'd been hurt in the race before, and as it turned out, if he'd have been going to ride him, he wouldn't have run because Ruby got hurt. And Ruby wandered down and said, "Oh, don't worry about he won." He'd seen the photo. He'd not seen the photo, but he'd seen the close-up and thought he'd won. And I never remember the commentator saying, the winner is number 4, Neptune Collonges.
First number 4, Neptune Collonges.
I think at that point you nearly knocked me out with your binoculars.
Yeah. Amazing. That was an amazing day. I can see what they call it, the People's Race. It was such a popular win. Great day here back in Ditcheat, and what a wonderful horse. Privileged to have trained him.
I mean, amazing. He was such a sweetheart. I was, what year was this? 2012. So I wasn't overly old, and I used to ride him out in my school holidays in the mornings. He was an absolute sweetheart. I think a lot of the sort of young lads got the chance to have a school on him sometimes, and I remember riding.
He actually did a quarter start twice in the school, managed to go upside down, and once I think he knocked himself and Christian Williams out.
Oh God!
But yeah, great horse, and he's still alive, and he's still going to the, you know, charity events, and they take him to the hospital there in Liverpool on Grand National Day to see all the kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, great horse.
He's so gentle. He's such a nice character.
It's all the hospital he goes to. And I've been with him there, on, you know, in the morning. Just he goes and meets all the kids in there for treatment, and just he touched everyone's heart. That horse.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
I'll never ever forget that. We had dinner, didn't we, with John and Pat Hills at Aintree afterwards, and then we drove home, and God, it must have been 1 or 2 in the morning, and I can remember we drove past the manor and it was heaving. We could hardly get the car down the street. It was absolutely crazy, and everyone was saying, "Oh, we won the national," and it was just wild for about 3 or 4 days after that. Amazing.
It's a good memories in that book.
A horse that I know you very much wish you had as a sort of 3-4-year-old is Tidal Bay, and he joined us much later on in his career, having been previously trained by Howard Johnson, but so talented, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and you know, he'd obviously had a few issues, and had some jumping problems, and had carried his head high and had a few little problems. And I remember, I think we cantered him once, and the first time we cantered up here, he made a noise, so we sent him straight off to Jeff Lane for a breathing operation. He had a normal soft paddock hob day, and that was the making of him. What an amazing horse for us. I mean, we had to train him a bit differently because he used to have the odd little bleed. He didn't like the hill, so we used to do lots of flat work, lots of trotting up the road, lots and lots and lots of graft to get him fit. And I think we ran him over hurdles. He won the Weatherby hurdle one day, over 3 miles. He obviously won the Lexus out in Ireland with Ruby, which was the most amazing ride because he loved coming late in a race. He'd sort of drop the bridle and then pick up really, really late. And I mean, I think he was 4th or 5th going to the last in the Lexus, and then ended up going through a gap and getting up on the line. And he would never, just unbelievable. That was unbelievable to win a Grade 1 the Lexus like that with him, just at the back end of his career. And then he won another, what I call it, the Whitbread Gold Cup, which is now the Bet365 Gold Cup. I'm not even sure what it was called when he won it. I remember that day that Darryl Jacob, top weight, dropped him out last, and I said he loves passing horses. Start off for last, and every little bit pass one, and he came tanking him through the race and won. And very, very smart horse.
I suppose because he came late, it took a little bit of time to sort of get to know him and get the right training regime for him and how to ride him.
Yeah, that's why I said it would have been nice to have had him as a youngster. And we'd obviously had a few problems, and he started bleeding a little bit as well, so we changed the routine with him, and I think the breathing up helped him sort of breathe. It helped him not to bleed, and he obviously was a bit hesitant on what I call going through that pain barrier, digging deep in a race, thinking he was either going to choke or bleed. Once he got some confidence, got over that, bingo, we're away, and God, it was a fantastic horse.
Amazing.
Very talented horse, yeah.
One of
some amazing days for Graham and Andrew Wiley. He was just nice to win some good races for him.
Must have been one of their best horses.
He wasn't the nicest horse in the stable when he was in training, but I think once he was out of his box, he was like a saint.
Grumpy in his stable.
Yeah, he was grumpy. I think poor old Michelle, who used to look after him, got pieces taken out of her. He talented horse.
Well, the final photo book to look at is of Big Bucks, and a horse that was close to a lot of people's hearts, and a horse that not only we've had fond memories of him, but also of his owner, Andy Stewart, and also of his groom and rider for so many years, Rose Loxton. Two incredible people who were heavily involved with the most amazing horse.
He was amazing, and probably was the most talented horse I probably ever trained. It had such an engine. And now, if he'd have jumped fences like some of those good chases we've had, it would have been a very, very interesting time taking on Corto in those good races. Probably a good blessing in disguise that he never did jump them quite so well. And I always remember the first time he arrived after Andy bought him, he came here. He was a terrible, terrible box walker, and he was a bit of an idiot. Just everything about his screaming, shouting was a bit stressy. And I remember the very first day we took him in the school to school him, just round over hurdles. He couldn't go around that school at all. He could hardly use himself a bend over there. And he was going around, I'm thinking, how the hell is this ever going to jump a fence? And he was a nightmare jumping from the start. Anyway, we did win a few novice chases with him. We did plenty of practice. Although he didn't jump well, he managed to get away with it. And he actually won a Grade 1 at Aintree over 3 miles. I think he jumped 18 fences, 18 different ways, and still won. And the season after that, he then went to go. I thought he'd win the Hennessy Gold Cup, which is now the Ladbroke Gold Cup. And Ruby couldn't ride him for whatever reason. And
Sam Thomas
and him parted company the last one. I still to this day think he would have won because he was only a couple lengths down jumping the last, and we all know what a turn of foot he's got. But anyway, that was a turning point because I just said to Andy, look, we got a bit of bother here. We need Ruby to ride him, but Ruby is not going to get off Quarto Star. So there's pointless. Why don't we try something different and go hurdling with him, give him a season hurdling? You never know, you might make a world hurdle horse. So Andy said, I think you're bonkers, was a famous quote. But he said, you're in charge, do what you like. So the rest is history, and he won 18 hurdle races on the trot.
Wow.
4 world hurdles, I think 4 Aintree hurdles. Most incredibly talented horse who used to race behind the bridle. Never looked like he was going that well, but from the back of the last, nothing could beat him. Andy Stewart, dear Andy, who passed away back a few months ago, that was the making of his racing career. All he ever wanted at home was that horse. As well as Andy owned it, Andy shared it with everybody. He loved sharing the horse, the stores, the tales, everything about Big Bucks. And Andy, I always used to call him Mr. Big Bucks, you know, in his little banter with him. And for somebody to put so much into racing, and he's had good horses, had Celestial Hailers, Pocolins, go on and on and on, nicer, but to have that 1-star quality special horse made Andy's life, really. And never forget the wins we had with that horse and the days we had with that horse. He was never really an athlete, never a good jumper, but and he said, you know, poor old Rose Loxon who looked after him and rode him, and then sadly we lost Rose as well. So, you know, that horse was associated with 2 great people in Andy and Rose, and you never ever be forgetting those days we had with him at the races and parading him afterwards and all the things we did. And he's now got a happy life with Lucy Felton, enjoying himself, odd days hunting. Goes off to parade at Cheltenham from time to time, and he looks absolutely amazing at the moment. So when we bought him, they would have told us he was a box walker or he had a goat with him. And when he turned up at the docks with a goat, and they asked, did I want the goat as well? I said, no, I've never had one horse with a goat. Keep the goat over there. And then when, I promise you, he walked his box so bad that if he hadn't been paid for, I'd have sent him back. He was the worst box walker. And he would go up in the stable in the front yard. We had him up there in the end. He literally walked so much. He literally carved a path around in the concrete about 1 inch deep. So we rubberized all the floors, so we didn't do anything like that. And as long as you managed him right, and both horses that lived either side of him, his mate went out at the same time as him in the morning, he'd be fine. If one went out and he was left in, or the other way around, oh my God, he'd stress and squeal and shout. And the only time he was really quiet and laid back was at the racecourse. Amazing. He'd go to the racecourse stables and just go to sleep there before he ran. Yes. But he was a character, and one thing we learned was how to deal with him, how to get best out of him. And yeah, God, fantastic horse. So lucky. I mean, those books, you know, we've just talked about Tidal and Denman and Neptune and Quarto, and there was Masterminded. And since then, Silvanaco Conti, he's in the book, and Clan, you can go on. It's amazing, amazing horses to have been very, very lucky to train.
It's so lovely being able to see the likes of Big Bucks, Zarkandor, and you know, go on. Yeah. To see them parading and, you know, in such great condition in their second career and everything is amazing.
Yeah, well, most of those horses, you know, racing is only half their life, and it is very important that they have a great home afterwards, and we've always made sure that they've gone to fantastic homes. They've all had great homes, had great lives, and been really looked after till the end. So, you know, they're treated how they deserved, you know, and that's very special parts of your life, really. Good old Big Bucks.
Love that picture. It's amazing.
And the one on the back, look at Rose on the back of that. She turn that one around. Look at that. It's just an amazing picture there with Rose Loxton on him. She loved that horse.
Must have been special. He was allowed a sheet in the winter. Not many of them are allowed that.
He must bring them for a walk. Yeah. Good memories.
Stable jockey Harry Cobden has been out busy this morning, schooling and riding plenty of the horses that are hopefully going to be running over the festive period. We've managed to catch him really quickly to speak to him about his experience at Ditcheat over the years and also his thoughts on those festive runners.
I started riding out here when I was 13, so on and off for 10 years really, and then left school, had a little stint with Anthony Honeyborn, came here straight after that, so yeah, Christ. 6 years, I've probably been actually working here for 6 years.
Did you turn conditional straight away?
Yeah, so I was conditional straight away, and I think my first season I had 30 winners, and then yeah, from there it was just flat out really. We didn't really stop and rode my claim out quite quickly, and then I was sort of in a year of no man's land where I didn't have a job and I didn't really have any rides, and I lost my claim, so I sort of rode a lot for Mr. Tizard that year, and then the following season I came here as number one.
Maybe a little bit of jealousy. Dad wanted you back, possibly?
Yeah, possibly. I was going to go to either or, so...
well,
yeah.
We think you chose right anyway, but I think you were probably delighted how quick you rode out your claim, stopped mucking out and everything. You just got to prepare in the mornings a bit.
Yeah, no, it was good. I had plenty of support and yeah, really enjoyed it.
I suppose Dad is renowned to not being the easiest, well, not maybe being the easiest to ride for, but being obviously strong in his opinions, and he lets you know if he's happy or not happy and everything. But you seem to have built a great relationship with him.
Yeah, we get on really well. You know, he's very good to me from the get-go, really. Not many 18-year-olds get to ride in a Grade 1. Saying that, not many jockeys get to ride in a Grade 1, let an 18-year-old £5 claimer. So I was very fortunate that he gave me the opportunity, and he's been supportive, and hopefully we can continue this good run of things.
Inevitably, we have a lot of horses, and we're very lucky to have quite a lot of high-class horses, and there's been days where you've had to pick, which some days is brilliant, you pick the right one, some days it doesn't work out. I mean, for you, how sort of frustrating, but then how much of a satisfaction is it knowing you can get back on, I suppose?
I'd say I've probably got off more Grade 1 winners than I've ridden, so I'm fairly used to it now. But yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things. It's I suppose I'm lucky to be in a position where you can actually get off good horses like that. A lot of jockeys in the way don't have an opportunity to ride one, so yeah, as long as I can get back on them and try and put it right another day, and it's just one of those things. I don't dwell on it. I don't worry about it. At the end of the day, you've only missed out on a big winner and a few quid. Nothing else has changed. As long as you go out the next day and try and put it right, then that's all that matters. You know, going into the race, I know Grenadine was shorter price in the betting, but I don't know. But the other day at Sandown, I thought HITMAN's a younger horse. He could be an improver. I thought they'd both be doing well to beat Chacon Poursoir. But obviously he didn't turn up, so our horses did, and mine missed the second last, but it's just one of those things. I don't think I would have beat Grenadine anyway, but it'd been a lot closer. Loads
of exciting runners over the next few weeks. Obviously the Christmas period is always busy for us. Is there one that is sort of exciting you the most, or is it hard to pick? Yeah, I'd say there's probably two, Clan and Brave Man's Game. You know, Clan's had a really good prep this year. He's going to have he's going to have a couple of gallops before he's ran. He's already had one and he's got one to go, so well, Scott Marshall seems very happy with him, and Brave Man's Game has been foot perfect so far this year. Jumped from fence to fence, and I'll be interested to see if Ahoy Senor will come down and give us a go. But yeah, he's one that really excites me, and I'm looking forward to Boxing Day.
Well, he was a great Grade 1 winning novice hurdler last year. Got put in his place at Cheltenham by Bob Bollinger. And then he got beat at Aintree, but he's had another summer at Grass. Big, strong horse that's done in the world of good. Won both his chases this year in Newton Abbot and Haydock against, you know, horses with form, not novices. He runs in the Quarter Star Novices Chase over 3 miles on Boxing Day, just for the King George, and very exciting horse, you know. Great thing with him, for a big galloping horse, he jumps well. If you've got plenty of ability and you jump, that's a big plus. And, you know, we're very happy with his progress. I think the biggest thing is he's got a lot stronger this year. I still think there's improvement to come from him because they haven't really trained him that hard this year. But yeah, hugely exciting. We'll be dreaming that he could be amongst the King George runners next year. Well, that would be my plan. You know, someone said to me the other afternoon, what's your target? I said the 2022 King George. And, you know, you've got to have sort of aims and dreams, but he's going the right way at the moment, and yeah, he's a very exciting horse, aren't you, mate? And another one actually who we saw schooling this morning, and he was bucking and squealing as well, so he's another one. They're in such good health. Yeah, Cobden had plenty on his hands this morning, but yeah, very fresh one there. Very pleased with him. We've got another horse who doesn't need any sort of introduction, but we're here with FRODON, who is attempting to retain his crown in the King George this year. Yeah, amazing horse, isn't he? You know, keeps on winning. He's been an incredible servant for Mr. Vote and for us. you know, he was in the form of his life in Down Roll recently, where he beat last year's Gold Cup winner. Good run, and you never rule him out. He's right back to his form again now, having had an easy month. He's been doing everything with Clan. They're going to have a little day out this week. And then, yeah, he'll be there and giving his all. And, you know, as I say, he keeps surprising us, and he might surprise us again.
You never know. He's an incredible horse, and I think the other jockeys this year will probably be giving him a bit more respect, and I don't think they'll give him such a soft lead this time around. But, you know, Bryony and FRODON from the front, they're pretty dangerous, aren't they?
Yeah, but, you know, it'll be a true run race. It always is. I mean, to be honest with you, he's secret with him is now use his jump and he goes flat out. I mean, ran Down Roll the other day. But she's very good, Bryony, pulling up in front, giving him a breather when she knows, and then quickening him up. But, I mean, they're not going to give him too much rope either. But Clan certainly won't. And last year, Clan got a bit behind, really, but it won't be happening this year. But, yeah, wonderful, wonderful horse.
We have Clan des Obeaux, who we also saw schooling this morning, and he was fresh to say the least, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's feeling really well, Meg. As you know, we've gone a different approach to the King George this year. Haven't been to Haydock the last few years en route and given him a hard race, so we're going to go there hopefully very fit and very fresh. As you saw this morning, he was in really good form. He's having a racecourse gallop this week. He had also had one at Newbury, so he'll be ready for his life at Kempton, but also very fresh, which I think is good. And as I said, new approach. But his form in the spring, beating Albion Photo and Punchestown and winning so well at Aintree, the cheek pieces on, I'd like to think he'd have a great chance of winning the third King George.
And those cheek pieces have obviously been a big help to him, haven't they?
Yeah, just sharpen him up. He'd got a bit lazy, but, you know, it'll be exciting. I'm really looking forward to boxing. I think he's got an outstanding chance. You know, obviously he is very well, and I'd seen him this morning was really good. He's very fit and fresh, and Harry was buzzing with the way he jumped and was behaving. So, yeah, delighted. Can't wait. Can we, old boy?
Well, fingers crossed. He deserves to get another one, I think, on board. And, well, so do you. I think the record stands for itself. It's a race you do very well in, and we've got a couple of nice chances, that's for sure.
Yeah, there we are. I'm with Clan.
One very important member of the team is assistant trainer Harry Derham, and we caught up with him in the school, teaching one of the young horses how to jump. This is actually one of your favourite parts, isn't it, of the whole thing, is getting the young horses, the babies, educating them to their jumping.
Yeah, without doubt one of my favourite parts, mainly because it's extremely rewarding. As you know, like you see a horse that's never done anything before and then get to the stage where he'll be able to run in a race. So obviously the juveniles, the flatbred juveniles, we have to do a lot with them. Lork, who's riding this lad now, does a lot of it with me. And it's a very rewarding part of the job, because you see a horse that at the start doesn't know how to navigate a trotting pole, and then hopefully you'll get into the stage where they get to a race and jump really nicely. And
this horse here in front of us, who is he, and where's he sort of come from? What's he done?
So he's a new horse from Owners Group called Inca de Lafayette, who's a winner in France. Dan Downey, who's sort of one of the head men at Owners Group, bought him. Thought he'd make a nice juvenile hurdling prospect. So he's joined us just last week. So, I mean, today he's not going to be doing much, but it's just about introducing him to a few poles and just seeing what his attitude's like for it. But he looks like he's got a great temperament, which is dead handy, because you'll sometimes get a horse that, as you well know, they'll see a pole and think, I'm not so sure. But he seems to like it, which is nice.
And this is clearly one of his first days. He's done very, very little.
Yeah, he's done hardly anything at the moment. We're just having him in here for the first time ever today, and just, you just sort of quietly go along and let him find his feet a little bit, and hopefully he'll show an attitude towards it.
I must say, it's not always quite this fun, your job, just being in the school and having pleasure with all the lovely young horses, but also I've seen evidence of you up very, very early in the mornings, gritting the roads and sort of keeping the operation running when the weather's against us and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's an awful lot to do as assistant, but it's all about keeping the show on the road, really, I suppose. And obviously Paul's got an awful lot on his plate all the time with training the horses and things, so our job as his team is to make sure that we can always do that. So we're, as you say, in the frost, it's unglamorous. So I have to be up early, but no, there's loads of things to the job, and whether we're schooling or we're racecourse galloping or we're on the gallops or whatever it might be, there's always loads of stuff to do, and it's just about trying to make Paul's life as easy as possible and make sure the whole thing's running as smooth as it can, really.
It wasn't all that long ago that you would have been where Lorcan was and you would have been schooling the babies and getting ready to ride them in all their races.
Yeah, no, not long ago at all, but I happily, we'll just do this one, Joe. Happily, Megs, I've found my niche now, I think. I was never very talented on the back of them, but I love doing what I'm doing now. And it's just, I don't know, the comparison I make about it is, good boy, the comparison I make is that golfers always say they enjoy playing in the Ryder Cup more than they do individually. And I think that's because they're part of a team. When you're riding, you're not part of a team. You're your own man or your own woman. And, you know, take that orange pole away, Joe. Your moods are very dependent on how you're getting on in your races. But I feel like being assistant, I'm way more part of a team. If we have a good day or a bad day, you're part of it. And I get a real kick out of that. I love being part of a team I'm in. And riding, you know, I always say I was in the right sport, doing the wrong job. So I found my niche now. I think I love doing what I'm doing.
And it's amazing, really, because obviously from the end of your riding career, you didn't go straight into being the assistant. You were sort of pupil assistant to a couple of, suppose we could call them legends, really. Yeah,
well, I suppose I was pupil assistant to Tom Johnson for a little bit. Joe, should we go a few barrels? Yeah. I was pupil assistant to Tom Johnson for a year, and that was brilliant. Tom was such a fantastic guy. You know, really good assistant trainer. And just wait a sec, look, have a little walk. And he was absolutely fantastic to me, because the year that I was pupil, he knew that I was going to be assistant next year, and he was so supportive of me, very, very helpful. And then, you know, when I was riding, I suppose without really knowing it, I was learning off Dan Skelton all the time, because he was here and he was the most amazing assistant trainer and now the most amazing trainer. So I suppose I had a fantastic education about being assistant without really knowing it. Just sort of, I mean, I remember always annoying Dan at the races on a Saturday by essentially being his shadow. So I think I probably saw what, you know, I didn't see every day being an assistant, but I saw bits and bobs of it from when I was very, very young. So I guess that stood me in good stead. And as you said, like, two really great people. I mean, Dan and Tom were two fantastic assistants for your dad, and still really good mates now.
And for you, over the last, well, a long period of where you've been involved in different ways, is there one standout highlight for you, or is it hard to narrow it down?
That was good. God, one standout highlight. I would say, as you well know, a horse very, very close to my heart was Dodging Bullets.
Could have guessed that.
You could probably do this bit. He wasn't by a long way he wasn't the most talented champion chase winner there's ever been, but I had a real affection for him. I worked a lot with him, was lucky enough to ride him quite a bit at home, and he just had that season of winning the Tingle Creek, the Clarence House and the champion chase, and to be closely associated with a horse like that was amazing. And I also think for me it came at a good time, because I just stopped riding, and I didn't really know what I was going to do with myself. And I think Clifford and Paul were probably thinking, well, he really likes riding Dodging Bullets, let's get him involved and do that. And I think that season that I'd stopped, Dodging Bullets went on this amazing run and won those 3 Grade 1s. And I think he was a huge part of why I'm still here doing what I'm doing. And so I think probably being involved with him would be my highlight. But there's been loads of amazing days. I mean, working for Paul, you're so lucky to work with such brilliant horses. Joe, should put another pole on. You're so lucky to work with such brilliant horses. And I mean, you know, FRODON is a horse of a lifetime. Clander's Oboe is incredible. I just sort of caught the tail end of Cater and Demon, as you know. And so, like, when you see those horses, you then want to be lucky enough to work with horses that can do similar things. And while I'm not comparing any of the ones we've got now to those guys back along, it's really great that, you know, now Paul's got some amazing horses, some absolute superstars, and I'm very, very lucky to be working with them. Very good, Lark.
Well, we've just seen you schooling Inca de Lafayette, who literally, as we saw, had done nothing. And schooling the young horses is something that you are quite involved in and do quite a lot of, isn't it?
Yeah, no, me and Harry, we go off and do a few sessions, and yeah, it's a real pleasure, and it's quite pleasing to see him go on and do well on the track, you know.
We're here now with Take Your Time, who's a recent winner for you at your, probably one of your favourite tracks, Chepstow.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was brilliant. I think I had 5 or 6 rides on the day. I was hoping I was going to do it at Chepstow, and yeah, he pulled it out of the bag.
When you say do it, we're talking about you rode out your claim that day, is that right?
Yeah, I rode out my claim. So yeah, no, it was a big achievement of mine and a big dream that I wanted to do, and yeah, I've managed to do it now, and hopefully the ball can keep rolling.
I was speaking to Harry earlier about the Christmas period, and for you, it's one of those things where you have to be slightly patient because you want to see where everyone else goes and try and fit in. Like you say, at Chepstow that day, you had 5 or 6 really lovely rides, and you'll be looking forward to, you know, hopefully slotting into some of those, likely at Chepstow Welsh National Day again. Yeah,
definitely. I'm always very lucky this time of year, you know, because it's very busy. And hopefully, I normally go to Wincanton. I went to Wincanton last year and had a bit of joy there. So hopefully it'll be the same this year. But like you said, you just got to be a bit patient and see where everyone's going.
And not only, obviously, you've ridden out your claim, which is a huge achievement and something everyone sort of aims for, but we can't go without mentioning your Cheltenham Festival winner. I mean, that has to be a huge highlight for you.
Oh, massive highlight, yeah. Like another achievement that was is a dream come true, really. And Paul Bay, I seen him out the other morning, and he looks really well, and hopefully he'll go and run well for Will when he rides him.
Yeah, obviously, you mentioned Will Biddick, who trained him, would have been on him, but
yeah,
because of this strange year we had, the professionals ended up riding in those amateur races. So you won the Fox Hunters as a conditional, which seems slightly strange, but Will is a good mate of yours, so that probably, I suppose, meant even more to, you know, do it for the whole team, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's just one big team in Ditcheat, you know. Like I said, I seen him out this morning, so we see all the young horses, and then me and Will would chat quite often, and like when we get to school them then over here, we sort of know what's coming. So yeah, it's all a big involvement in the team.
I suppose it does all link in. Will has obviously quite a lot of the young horses, breaks them in. You would go over there a bit, sit on them, and start the whole process of them being ridden and then jumping as well. So it all works in together quite nicely. And we've seen you earlier as well riding St Calvados and FRODON. Actually, you got to school the pair of them. And how did they feel to you?
Oh no, brilliant. St Calvados, he actually felt really well. When I canted him down and back, he was having a good look at things and he was alert. And then, well, you can't really go wrong with FRODON. He sort of he does whatever he wants, really. But no, they both jump really well, and hopefully they'll be quite exciting.
Receiving an OBE must have been so rewarding for yourself, and I don't think you probably that often appreciate how well you've done. So actually, by receiving that, you must have reflected and thought, wow, you know, it really is amazing.
Yeah, well, obviously very, very lucky. Last year was a special year, you know, to win the 12th Trainers' Championship with, well, I thought we had plenty to do last season to do it. We had an amazing team. The horses ran well all winter, 176 winners, all those big ones. And to eventually get my OBE this year, which is fantastic. But I see that represents Team Ditcheat. I've always said it's all about Team Ditcheat. I head it, it's my business, I make the decisions, but you need good people around you. You need a good team. And if you haven't got a good team around you, you're not going to be in a situation to train all the winners we've done. And so my OBE, yes, it was obviously a proud moment, but I see it as a reflection on Team Ditcheat, and I'm very proud of Team Ditcheat and always have been.
With 12 championships in, we're going for the 13th this year. I mean, it's not going to be easy again, it never is, but this year looks quite tight.
Well, I think it is. I mean, sort of getting on towards halfway through the season, we just about managed to scrape, as of today, about 140 grand in front of Dan. But Dan, I can see, he's like me, I know exactly what we'll be doing. We plot and win every single penny he can before now and the end of the season, and it won't be easy. You know, I thought at the start of the season, the betting was just making it 2-horse race between me and Nicky. Nicky's had a slow start for him, and he'll probably catch up with us all a bit later on. But I always thought it was Dan was going to be thinking, that's what I know what he's like. He wants to be champion trainer desperately, and he will be champion trainer one day. But I hope that we can stay where we are for a good few years. We've got a good team and a good backup team. But to win the Trainers' Championship, it's not all about training a number of winners, although you obviously want to train lots. It's winning those big races. And from now onwards to the end of the season, it's winning those big races. And that's what counts.
So that is it for this episode of This Racing Life. I hope you've really enjoyed all the behind-the-scenes action here at Manor Farm Stables, and I hope you have a lovely festive season.